We have on Mr. Andy Tanner. We talk all about strategies and insights on investing. We talk about the real estate market. We talk about the current state of the economy and much, much more. We're going to be diving into this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee-yee. All right, Andy Tanner, my man, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast. I am super excited to rock the mic with you.
Hey, man, I'm really excited to be a part of this. You and I had a chance to talk a little bit before. We're live now, I suppose, and just what a great mission you have. And it's nice to have guys that have heart as well as the head, and that came through loud and clear. So, Kerry, I appreciate you having me on. I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I received that very much so, especially coming from you. And, you are a renowned paper assets expert, successful business owner, and investor known for your ability to teach key techniques for stock options investing, as well as many other things. You also serve as a coach to Rich Dad's stock success systems trainers and as the Rich Dad advisor for the paper assets. And you've helped tens of thousands of investors and entrepreneurs from around the world. You often speak at the request directly of Robert Kiyosaki, one of your great friends and mentors, all on his Rich Dad system. And one thing I found out that is very exciting is you are a husband of 31 years, a father to two amazing boys, 16 and 18 years old, and you are a happy hustler doing it with a smile on your face. So I'm excited to unpack all things strategies for investing, for cash flow, for financial success, truly, but not at the stake of sacrificing your soul in the process. That's really what I'm excited to dive into. But before we get into that good stuff, Andy, I do like to ask, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Well, that's a trick question
Yep.
because a lot of the stuff, I don't know, it depends on the age of your audience,
Right.
One of the things people don't know about me is I'm a cancer survivor. And you mentioned my wife and kids. That's kind of special to me because I've been married 31 years. That's only because my wife hasn't learned what an exit strategy is yet. As soon as she figures that out, I'm in trouble. But before we had children, I had testicular cancer. And so after some surgeries and therapies, it was kind of tough to get that part of our life moving forward. It took a lot of years. Yeah. And we had some great people come into our lives and some wonderful help. And so we wound up having 2 kids. So getting the kids here for us was a little bit more work than it is for most people. But we're grateful for it. So that might be something people don't know about me is I'm a cancer survivor. So how about that?
Yeah, very interesting.
Great blessing.
I'm glad you overcame that adversity and, have 2 beautiful boys to show for it. And I mean, that's funny. 31 years, though, I got to say, that although she hasn't learned the exit strategy, I'm sure she's learned resilience, and as have you. And that's one of the things I value most in this life is people who have relationship grit, as my friend John and Catherine Gordon say, best-selling authors. They talk about that. And, you need grit in business. You need it in your investing strategies. You also need it in your marriage. And I'm excited 100%. To, kind of hear that from you. I guess just while we're on the topic, just give it to me straight. Any truth from 31 years of marriage that you can share that's allowed you to stay together and hopefully still foster love and connection?
Well, one ingredient's been we do love each other. That helps.
That's good. Yeah.
People talk about working in a marriage, and I think I understand what they mean by that. But I got to tell you, for me, it's been very much she's just easy to be married to. She's a lot of patient. She's very, very patient. And
Mm,
I can tell you one thing that happened to me. I had a couple moments of clarity when I was young.
mm,
I had a great mentor of mine when I was about 19 years old, came in my life. And he'd been married about, 40, 45 years. And I saw him and his wife interacting, and one of them spilled something all over the other one. And they kind of laughed it off. So I went, and I thought it'd be tense. I thought, oh, there's going to be some friction here. And I went to him and I said, hey, when you guys had that little episode, I thought there might be a little fireworks going on there, but yet there wasn't. And he kind of pulled me aside and he sat me down. He said, I've been married for, whatever it was, 30, 40 years, whatever it was. He said, we've never had an unkind word. And I was like, oh, come on, 30, 40 years. Come on. That's crazy. You had to have some knockdown drag out. He
yeah.
said, we've had disagreements for sure, but we just kind of made an agreement with each other in our vows that we wouldn't use unkind words. We wouldn't call each other names, and that we'd work stuff out ourselves without having to, go all over the place. And so when I asked my wife to marry me, we talked about that story. We haven't been as stellar with us as those guys were, but we've been close. And I just, if you love each other and you keep, I think what happens is when emotion goes up, intelligence goes down.
Mm,
And sometimes in my family, we talk about living in the snow globe where you're all, the snow is flying, you're interacting. But you can kind of set it aside and get outside of yourself a little bit, see the big picture.
mm,
Most of the stuff people fight about is pretty silly. It's certainly not worth falling on your sword on. So I don't know if that's helpful for people. I mean, everyone's marriage is different, and
yeah.
some have challenges. Truth is, she's just amazingly patient. I think has been the biggest key is find
Hey,
someone that can be patient. If you're going to be married to an entrepreneur and investor, you got to have a lot of patience. That's for sure. So
yeah.
we'll give credit to her for the longevity of that relationship, not me.
I love it. I mean, I think that's sage wisdom and, obviously easier said than done, but nowadays I just feel like divorce is so common and people just they get into a little, discrepancy and emotions run hot and next thing you know you're holding on to stubbornness and ego and then you just dig in those
It's a
heels
rough
and
thing,
yeah,
I've had family members go through that. I
yeah,
wouldn't wish them a worst enemy. I've never walked that mile, in their
yeah,
shoes. I wake up every day and I look at them and I say, well, they're in their journey. They're going to do what's right for them.
yeah,
But I can't imagine going through that pain, having half of your soul ripped out. So I have a lot of empathy and compassion for those
yeah,
that face that challenge.
same,
Uh, and I have one friend, third time is the charm,
yeah,
and happy as they can be. So,
yeah,
but there are principles of love and compassion and empathy, and forgiveness is a big forgiveness can be a great balm. So when it comes to relationships, I'm not a relationship expert, but I've got 31 years of experience so far that we've
hey,
held
that's
together.
that's pretty impressive, and I know you mentioned your mentor in the relationship game helped steer you down that path of
Yeah,
not speaking unkind words. I'm curious. I know a lot of people out there are big fans of Rich Dad Poor Dad and Robert Kiyosaki, and they might not know how you got linked up together. So maybe unpack that story too while we're at it in terms
sure.
of
I
mentorship.
I think that might have been bad luck on Robert's part to have to be with me, but I had always, I don't want to be too long-winded with my background, but my father was a teacher. My mom would do different jobs, and we were just trying to make ends meet like anyone else. We had a large family, so there were a lot of mouths to feed. We had 6 kids,
Hmm.
and I always, we always drove a rust bucket, and my dad was always putting everything together with duct tape and baling wire, trying to fix everything. And I always wanted to learn about wealth. I'd see someone in a nice home or living an abundant life, and some people say, well, you had to do that by lie, cheat, steal, all that. And I just never believed that was true. I felt like the abundance was available to every American.
Hmm.
And so I failed miserably in trying to pursue that education. And you had so many different failures along the way. And in the 90s, I was a pretty good salesman. I played college basketball, probably the worst player in the history of my school. I played at junior college pretty successfully. And when I got to the University of Utah, that D1 was quite an upgrade for me.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I tell people my coach loved me the most because he kept me on the bench to be close to him. He didn't want me getting hurt out there in a game at all.
Right.
So when that was all over, I never found my way in school, never knew what I wanted to do, accounting all the way to zoology in that catalog. Nothing gave me a passion, lit me up. But I was pretty good with people, pretty good with sales, knew how to explain value. So I became a salesman and very successful early for the standard in those days. And in the 90s, they came out with software you could use to trade stock on your own. Before that, you called your broker, paid a big commission. So I was got invited to sell the software. I says, "Yeah, I don't know anything about investing, but I do know sales." And as I got exposed to that, I was like, "Wow, this is actually pretty cool to learn to invest with. This actually, there's some teeth to this."
Hmm.
And so about that time, I had the book Rich Dad Poor Dad into my life, come into it. Like so many people read that book. I was just a regular reader like anyone else. My wife and I read that together, and we would do it at night before we'd go to bed. And I had a copy, she had a copy, and I'd read a paragraph, she'd read a paragraph, and go back and forth, get through a chapter. So, most people have more interesting things to do when they're about ready to retire in bed than that, but we read Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's what we do. Anyway, I started instilling those principles I was learning in the people I teach about the software, and I started getting invited to give speeches different places. So one day I got a call from Robert's office. Kathy, his main office manager, called and said, "Hey, we understand you give a little speech on stocks and use Rich Dad principles." I thought, they're going to sue me. I'm
Yeah.
choosing their book. They're going to sue me. You go, no, not at all. We'd like to invite you out to an event. This is, oh God, I'll bet this was 16 years ago, maybe 17, maybe more. I don't know. But it was called The Psychology of Winning. And I sat there and I learned for 3 days. And in the end, I gave a speech and I knew it was an important one. So I worked hard on it. And Robert seemed to like it. And at the end, we started a friendship. And until my kids got old enough to play basketball, when I had to stay home with coach, I traveled the world for about 14 years on his team. And I just learned so much.
Wow.
It wasn't about me teaching. I taught a little bit,
Yeah.
but really it was about me learning from guys who were just unbelievably good at what they did, like Kenny and Tom and Garrett and Josh and Lisa and Blair, and Kim and Robert. So that's how it went. And then I mentioned I was a cancer survivor. About 3 years ago, my wife was diagnosed.
Oh, man.
And so I had basketball players as kids, and my wife was going through some stuff. So I don't travel as much anymore. I do things here from a home studio, and we couldn't be happier and more grateful for every day we have.
Wow. Yeah. What a story. I
Yeah,
mean,
so that's long-winded, isn't it?
no, it's
It's a
great.
story, but you know what? Everybody, our challenges aren't special. Every single person either has gone through the same thing or knows somebody, or worse.
Yeah.
Robert served in Vietnam. I can't imagine how hard that would be. And
Yep.
we put our pants on one leg at a time around here. And I
Yep.
know that every single listener has challenges too.
Yeah.
We're not special. We're fortunate, and we all put up our dukes every day and throw punches, right? That's what we do.
Yeah. For real. I mean, it is super cool to see you embody the wisdom of, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then get the opportunity because of it.
Oh,
You know,
uh,
amazing to hear that.
yeah. I mean,
Well, I gotta
Nick,
ask you just with,
if you'd have told me, okay,
yeah,
we're sitting there in bed reading this thing. If you'd have told me that someday I'd be the paper assets advisor in that group, you'd have knocked me over the feather. I never would have. I wouldn't have been able to invest my way out of a wet paper bag in those days. So, hopefully that gives people a tremendous amount of hope. Because if you'd seen me in those days, you'd have said, "There's just no way this kid is going to make it at all." So,
yeah,
so
wow.
a lot of luck involved and a lot of blessing in that.
Yeah, I bet, but still, you did earn it in some capacity. So I got to ask, just being on the inside with Robert, I'm sure you've seen him teach many great lessons publicly, but I'm wondering if there's one in which that he carries himself or how he interacts with his business dealings? One great lesson that you've learned personally, not so much publicly, from Robert that you could
Yeah.
share.
Well, Robert is a hard-nosed dude. I mean, he's a Marine,
Yeah.
and if you were to just if you only had one word to describe him, I don't think he'd be upset if I said that guy's a Marine through and through. You know, always faithful, never leave a man behind type guy. Really tough dude. I mean, when you talk about the time I spent with him, there was as much reprimand as there was. I mean, he's serious about financial education. I'd say the biggest thing I learned from him was he is an absolute insatiable learner.
Mm.
He is not a guy who pictures himself as having arrived and now I'm just going to teach him. That guy I think he taught me how to study more than
Mm.
anything else. We used to do these book studies where you wouldn't just read a book and give your opinion on it. You had very specific rules. When we'd study away from other people, if you wanted to share something about the book we were studying, you had to say what the author said was. That was a rule in our
Mm.
study because we tend to say, well, let me give you my take on this. Well, now
Yeah.
you're taking everything you already think you know and infecting and infesting the conversation with your own opinions. There's time for that later. So one of the rules was what the author said was, and then you'd read what the author said, and then you knew you got at least a portion of what he or she was trying to say. So I would
Mm.
say one of the big things I learned from him was how to study that way and
Mm.
to check my own stuff at the door for a bit and then really listen to what an author was trying to tell me so I could really learn. So that
Yeah.
was a big one. And there's probably 1,000 of those things I could give you, but that one stands out for sure is how to study.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, knowledge is, says what Tony Robbins says, potential power. It's the execution of that knowledge. And that's where,
Got to do it.
the execution and application in which, Rich Dad, and Robert and yourself have given so many people that application. I want to kind of talk about the application of investing and strategies that,
Yeah.
you know, happy hustlers out there can really use to get ahead, let's say, for lack of a better term. Um, I guess to kick things off, where are people going wrong? Like, what's the number one mistake that you see most commonly?
Well, I think you actually have the answer to that in your podcast. I mean, when you look at this term happy and hustler, can you be both? Can you
Mm.
be both happy and get the hustling? One of the things I tell my sons, and I think everyone has to fight this battle more than once, is I say it this way to them. I go, son, always be bigger than your money. What that means is that money's my servant, not my master.
Mm.
That when I pull out a dollar bill and I look at George Washington staring back at me and says, I'm sorry, General Washington, but I'm the one in charge here.
Mm.
And your job is to go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let you get bigger than me. And if you let your money get bigger than you, uh, I'll tell you when you'll know that it has is the happiness goes away because of the hustle.
Mm. Wow.
And when all of a sudden the hustle overcomes the happiness, you know the money might be winning the battle on that. So I always tell my sons, I've often made mistakes trying to there's greed, there's anger, there's fear, there's panic, all these emotions. Warren Buffett has said many, many times that you have to have education, you got to know what you're doing, but temperament is more important than all of those things. And if a
Mm.
person doesn't have a proper temperament, they won't be bigger than money. They won't be able to stand strong. Lawsuits happen. Why? Because we're fighting over money.
Yeah.
You mentioned sometimes people get separated. Why? Because the money is a bigger issue than the relationship. When the money becomes a bigger thing than the relationships deteriorate, whether it be by lawsuit or divorce, whatever it is. So you got to be bigger than your money so you can stand strong when greed or fear or panic or people that are dishonest. Why do they do it? They do it in the name of money and they sacrifice their happiness for another dollar. And
Yeah.
so I think you answer that question better than I am just with the name of your podcast is
Yeah.
if there's one thing I'd tell a guy to start off with is say, what's my temperament? Can I be a happy hustler? Can I be resilient when I make a mistake? Can I still be
Yeah.
happy with that?
Yep.
Can I say, hey, this is a learning experience for me? Because if not, your money's become bigger. I've lost a lot of money in my life. I've gained some. I've made some. I've lost some.
Yeah.
But in those big losses, if it's really devastating to me, well, maybe my money got a little bigger than me. And
Mm,
so I need to say, hey, it's money. Let's go play the game again.
yeah. Sage wisdom again, Andy. I got to say, we talk about in the Happy Hustle, and I wrote about in my book as well, the more disease. And specifically, I think it's
Yeah.
infected many entrepreneurs and specifically, our culture in America. Like everyone, it seems to be infected in some way, shape, or form. And more money, more clothes, more cars, more followers, more likes, more love, more everything. And there's really a difficulty in exercising the power of contentment and just being grateful for what you do have. And Dan Sullivan talks about, if you want to live a life of despair and unfulfillment and lack of joy, then measure yourself forward against this ever-changing goalpost, and you'll for sure be unhappy. And that's what happens. We get an exit in our business or a great win in the stock market, and then we're looking for the next thing, and we don't actually stop and celebrate. But if you really want to be happy within the hustle, and you want to embody joy and fulfillment, then you have to measure yourself backwards against where you started. And I always thought that was a great key takeaway to really happy hustling. For you, I know you've, made a bunch, lost a bunch, and um, found joy within that journey as well, and have been bigger than your money. But has there been a time, and I know you've mentioned, I guess, tell me about a time when you did make a mistake with your
Oh,
investments, and how did you snap back into homeostasis and to recognize that it's all a game and we ain't going to take it with us.
I'll tell you how much you want to talk about my mistakes. How much time do we have?
Yeah, right.
How much hard drive space is there?
Yeah.
Let me set up with this though, with the idea of more. If you flip that around and you say, how do I serve more people?
Mm,
How do I help more? How do I
yep.
work more?
Yeah.
How do I love more? I think, there was a great book called The Happiness Advantage, which I
Mm,
think is a great theme for the happy hustle.
mm-hmm.
And it talked about a job being something that you do in terms of getting. You're doing something you don't want to do with people you don't want to be with in a place you don't want to hang out in, all because of what you're getting, a paycheck. Some people have a career. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I like to say the status. Some people find a calling. And when you find a calling, you're wanting to do more, but it's outward instead of sucking it in. You're pushing out. And the
Mm,
problem is if you go out and you say, I want to solve someone's problem, I think I'll build 300 million iPads and put them all over the world. And we'll learn more and we'll open a window to the universe. We'll communicate better and we'll solve all these problems. We'll just give that to the world. Problem is you're going to get more. That's a rough one. You give more and you're going to get more. So that idea of more is a big deal. I've had so many mistakes. One of the big ones I made was I just read The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. It's like, all right, I'm going to be in the quadrant. E quadrant's over. I'm going to be in the I and the BI side. And my thought was we're just
can
going to
you
invest.
can you
So
just, before you get there, explain that real quick for those people who have no idea what you're talking
yeah.
about?
Oh, I apologize for the
Yeah.
jargon. I
Yeah.
apologize. So there's four ways people bring cash flow into their life, hence the word quadrant. The
Yeah.
first is on what we call the left side, where we have an E, and we have an self-employed, employer, self-employed, and then on the other side we have investor and business owner, and one is working for money, and the other is having money work for you. Basically, is what
Mm,
it is.
yep.
And so I was very much in the S quadrant, huge, self-employed, and didn't really own my business. It owned me. And the way I could tell is if I were to stop working, there would have been no wealth there. Right. I mean,
Mm,
I didn't have a job. I owned a job and then the job owned me. Right. So I
yeah.
didn't have a boss, which was terrible because being your own boss when you're incompetent is rough. so, so anyway, I wanted to be more on the B side, and there was a friend of mine that had a business opportunity. It wasn't a massive amount of money, but for those days, back in those days, like 50 grand we are going to put in.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like life-changing money, but it was, not something you just, oh, where'd that 50 grand go? Right.
Yeah.
And it was a business opportunity. And my spidey sense, this is what I learned from the lesson, is when I looked at their business, I said, why don't you just sell more stuff? Why are you willing to give up equity? And I had four other partners, they wanted $250,000, and we were going to pool together and get equity for this $250,000. And as I looked at the business, I told these partners, I said, I think they should just sell more stuff. I think, why would you give that up for a mere $250,000? And they said, no, it's because of this, this, this. That's the fastest 50 grand I ever lost in my life, man.
Mm.
But I learned a lot from it.
Mm.
So many different lessons. First, I learned to trust my spidey sense a little bit more when I saw a problem with it.
Yeah.
I learned that it wasn't just about putting in the money. I didn't understand that business fundamentally. I didn't understand the income, expense, asset, liabilities. I didn't take it through a good fundamental analysis back then. I really did it because I saw other smart, rich guys doing it. And I thought, well, if these other four partners are smart and rich and they're doing it, then I'm going to do it with them. We all lost our money.
Wow.
And so they lost theirs too, fast, within a couple of years. I shouldn't say that fast. Within a couple of years, that business we got nothing.
Mm.
So that's one of many I could tell. And financial education, like I can tell you now, I would have been saved from doing that deal with the experience and the idea of fundamental analysis. It's a very important pillar of investing. If you don't know what a fundamental analysis is, that's something to delve into and learn. That's a basic skill. Every entrepreneur and every investor should be able to do a basic fundamental analysis on a financial statement of any kind, whether it be a nation, whether it be a personal one, whether it be a business you're evaluating. That's a key skill. I didn't have it, so I learned. Got to go get it.
Yeah. I mean, I
That
think,
was an expensive seminar I put on for myself, by the way. That one cost. That's the most expensive seminar you can do, is the School of Hard Knocks. I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
yeah, you're not wrong. Let's go deeper there. Let's stay and double click, because I feel like we teased it, and all the happy hustlers out there are going to want to know, well, how the heck do I do a fundamental analysis on a potential opportunity? Is there enough time where you can kind of give us the high
Sure.
notes? Yeah.
Yeah, I can give you the high notes. If you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think one of the reasons that changes people's lives is there's a page in that book where he diagrams the cash flow pattern of a poor person, the cash flow pattern of a rich one, and of an investor. And it's about 2/3 of a financial statement. There's income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. The third statement is called the statement of cash flow. But if you have an income statement, income, expenses, and assets and liabilities, balance sheet, you have, more than halfway of seeing a full financial statement. Well, this might seem overly simplistic, but it's actually fairly profound. Give me any government, give me any business, give me any nonprofit, church, school, household, real estate deal, stock, any Apple down to mom and pop run a gas station. Every single entity worldwide in any language or culture has a financial statement. There's money coming in, income, money going out, expenses, assets they own, liabilities they owe. And no matter how intricate the business is, once all of those numbers are tallied, you can fill those four boxes and see if they're making money, losing it, or have worth or not. And you can see how that's been trending over time.
Hmm.
And so that might seem overly simplistic, but that's fundamental stuff, right?
Yeah.
So let me use a metaphor to cap that beginning of that lesson off. Let's say that you and I, we saw a bunch of people at random listening to this podcast. We just pulled 100 of them at random out of a hat. We said, you guys are going to go to Montana in the beautiful clean air, right? And you're going to have a 36-mile marathon around the lake and through the mountains. It's going to be beautiful for some of you. For others, it's not going to be a very good experience. And we had a doctor beforehand, and we said, well, all of you are going to have a physical. Open up, say, heart, breathe in, hit your knee with the thingy and make you kick. And we're going to get your A1C, we're going to get your blood pressure, we're going to get your pulse, we're going to get your age. Andy, get on that scale. Let's see how high it goes and get your BMI. And if I had all that data, and I took those 100 people going to run the marathon, I don't know that I could pick the winner. But if you gave me a chance to pick the top 30 or the top 20, I'd be pretty darn close in who's
Mm,
going to win that marathon. Why? Because I had fundamental metrics on what a body should be able to do. And if
right.
there's problems, they'd come up. So if I'm going to pick a business, wouldn't I want to do the same thing? Wouldn't I want to give it a checkup? Income, expenses, asset, liabilities, growth, those types of things. I could tell, like, if every listener gave me their financial statement today and I looked at those items, income, expenses, assets, liabilities, I could tell you exactly where my risk tolerance would be as a bank and loaning them money without even knowing their grades in school, without even knowing marriage or single. And just by giving me that financial statement, there's just certain fundamental things I would see. Say, that guy's in trouble. They're doing awesome. These guys are doing, I'm betting on these guys. They're doing really awesome. So that's basic fundamental analysis, is just the ability to look at an entity in a business and see the cash flow, how it flows in and out of their statement, and you can get a real good handle on their health real fast. So that's
Yeah.
fundamentals.
Yeah. I mean, it is so imperative that all the happy hustlers really know their numbers. And I'm just going to admit, back when I really started becoming a serious entrepreneur, I had no clue how to read a financial, balance sheet or profit and loss statement. And I'll even tell you today, I outsource a lot of it, and it's not recommended. You need to know your numbers as a entrepreneur just as well as your accountant and bookkeeper. And this is a great reminder, even for me, Andy, to just get clear. It's four key areas: income, expenses, liability, assets, and then obviously throwing in growth to the mix. But these are just key pieces to the puzzle if you want to create cash flow and then ultimately have enough to invest into you know other opportunities. Let's talk about investing. I know you are very much a proponent of the stock market and the potential there, um, and paper assets as well. I guess define paper assets for those people who
Sure.
maybe are unclear first.
Yeah, and I don't know if I label myself as a proponent because I love all the asset classes, and I think I'm more of a proponent of saying, what's a match for your listener, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they came to me and I felt that they had a better opportunity in real estate or commodities or doing a business, I mean, maybe they got the gift of gab and sitting clicking a mouse and just making money, clicking a mouse might not be their thing, right?
Yep.
So I really don't like the idea of saying, what's the best asset class? Because that makes success a function of an asset rather than a person.
Mm.
And I'll tell you what I'm a proponent of. Education is about personal development of a human being.
Yeah.
Buffett was successful not because of stocks, but because he's Buffett. Branson is successful in business, not because of business, because of Branson, and you can go down the list from there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Second part of your question, remind me, because I got caught up when you said I was a
Yeah.
proponent of the stock
My
market.
my
Well, I'm a proponent of
apologies.
people. Well,
Yeah. So, well,
go
just
ahead.
paper assets
Mm,
specifically. Give us
thank you. Paper
give us
asset.
clarity on that
So,
piece.
I probably argue with my mentor Robert Kiyosaki on this one. A lot of people think of paper as just paper, right? I think that's what cash would be. It's just paper. I really like the word certificate. Certification. This certifies that something is true. And so if a person earns a certificate, it's a truth. It's a certification of something that's real.
Mm.
So if I earn a certificate from the Dale Carnegie course of public speaking or whatever, I'm certified.
Mm.
If I've put in a certain amount of hours to cut hair, I'm certified. Well, when it comes to ownership, if we're going to go beyond being cavemen that carry around a big club and conk each other on the head and steal everyone's assets, how do I know that you own what you own? So let's take real estate, for example. How can you prove to me that the house you're living in is really yours? How would you do that?
A deed,
What's that printed on?
a piece of paper.
Well, there's a paper asset,
Right. Okay.
right? If you had some gold, and they used to actually call these gold certificates, if you had some gold in the treasury and it said, You know, this hereby certifies on this silver certificate that there is 1 ounce of gold in the U.S. Treasury payable to the bearer on demand. That certifies. It's a certificate, right, of ownership. How do you prove to me your car is yours? Well, you have a title. How do you prove to me your house is yours? You have a deed. How do you prove to me that anything is yours legally? You're going to have certification. So a stock certificate is a certification of ownership.
Hmm.
And when people tell me that paper assets aren't real, like gold or silver, I say, hey, can I borrow your iPhone for a minute? And they say, sure. And I'll take it and I'll throw it in a glass of water or in the ocean or throw it out in the street for whatever. Like, what are you upset about? It's not real. Your cell phone bill isn't real. You don't need to pay that. That money's not real. But actually, in reality, Apple has technology that's real. They have IP that's real. They have customers that's real. They have manufacturing plants that are real. They have customers that's real. And most importantly, they have cash flow that's real, and they pay a dividend where they divide up the profits to the shareholders. And I can certify that that money I receive is real. So a paper asset is usually known as something like a stock, where they say, well, you really can't touch and feel a stock. Yes, you can. Go to Apple. You can go earthing. You can take off your shoes and walk through their grass and their front lawn, and it's real. So that's all a paper asset is. It's
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that the Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available, because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
if I want to sell you a house, I'm going to sell you the deed. If I'm going to sell you a stock, I'm going to sell you the stock certificate. If I'm going to sell you an option, that's just he certifies that we have an agreement where there's a choice and a promise. So that's all a paper asset is generally it's referred to as stocks and options, which is what I teach the most. It's how to make money buying pieces of paper to certify that you own a business, or a piece of it anyway.
Yeah, very great explanation. And I mean, I know for me specifically, I have, a portfolio, sure, and I have a Roth IRA, and I did buy Tesla early, which I'm proud of, back when it
Yeah,
was
that's a good one.
276 before the split, baby. So,
You did well.
I did do well on Tesla, but
Yeah, you
the
did
point
well.
is, other than that, stocks and options and puts and calls and all the jargon, it's overwhelming, I feel like, for the average investor. And I know you do a great job
Can be.
explaining it so it's simplified. But in 2024, right now, given the current state, we have an election coming up. Right now, as we're recording this, is late Q3. Where do you see some of the more lucrative opportunities, will you? Is it still stocks? Is it crypto? Is it real estate? What's your take on the general assessment of the market?
Yeah, I think there's opportunity in every one of them. And I
Yeah.
think the biggest opportunity, and this is going to sound weird, is in the crash. Um, I I don't root for crashes overtly and necessarily because they can hurt some people, but in my heart of hearts, it's in the crash. That's where the opportunity lies.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. if you looked at any chart of any of those assets you meant, crypto or real estate or anything from a capital gain perspective, setting cash flow aside for a moment,
Hmm.
the best times you ever could have bought is in the crashes.
Right.
Bitcoin hits 60 the first time, goes back to 10. That's when you should have nailed it.
Yeah.
Stock market goes up to new highs, pulls back during COVID. That's when you should have bought it. Real estate in the '08, meltdown, died, cut in half. That's when you should have bought it. So
Right.
what's strange is people will get excited. Talk about happy hustle. You'll know about your happy hustle when you understand this. How do you feel about the day after Thanksgiving when the consumables go on sale? Are you just ready to stand in that line with all those other people and get rid of your money as fast as you can to take home liabilities? Or instead of a Black Friday, would you be more excited about a Black Swan event,
Hmm.
meaning that prices of assets? Now, consumers get really excited about buying stuff when it gets cheap. Investors, we get out of our mind thrilled when there's crashes in the markets, because what Warren Buffett called it was the shooting the fish in the barrel experience. Like in COVID, I couldn't miss. I mean, is that really intelligence? COVID makes everything dump 30%, and I'm buying it at 30% discounts, and then it goes and recovers that 30% and then doubles after that. Is that genius, or is that just attitude of knowing this is on sale? This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, you asked about the present time right now. Right now, the best time to learn is not in the crash, it's before. The higher the market goes, the deeper the crash and discount can be from highs. And so the higher it goes, the more excited I get to learn how to prepare for the next sale.
Hmm.
And that's not what most people do. They don't see it as something that will end and be excited about that discount. But like, look at Warren Buffett. He just sold half his Apple. Half. Why? Well, he's afraid of paying taxes on unrealized capital gains, which is being thrown around by some people as an idea.
Hmm.
But he actually is loading up a lot of ways and saying, hey, we're going to have another sale. And when we have this sale, I'm going to buy cheap again and go up, sell it, and buy cheap again. So cash flow aside, I would say the greatest opportunity you have right now is in knowledge, not in
Hmm.
an asset class. There, Kerry, there's a culture of advice that people have. And I don't think advice can make someone happy. Knowledge makes people happy. If you ask me, Andy, should I buy gold right now? And I say, nope. Or I say, yep. What learning have we shared? But if you say, Andy, what do you think of gold? I say, well, it's fungible. Oh, now we're learning things. Now we're learning things. So when people ask me about asset classes, what do you think's going up or down? I say, I don't think the biggest opportunity is in the asset class. I think it's in your heart, it's in your mind, it's in your personal development. So the best move, the best investment you make today isn't in crypto, it's in you, it's in
Hmm.
yourself, it's in your temperament, it's in your discipline, it's in your mentors, it's in your teachers. That's the best. You're always best to invest in yourself and your family before you try to pick one of these asset classes. I think anyway. That served me well, taking that approach.
Yeah. I mean, I completely echo the sentiment. And, one of the best things I ever did was just enhance my financial literacy, really focusing on reading financial books, listening to financial podcasts, watching financial videos like yours and Robert's. I mean, and again, I have a long way to go. I just claim to be the reporter, never the guru. Just, hey, this worked for me. This didn't work for me, you know. But nonetheless, you nailed it with the education piece. And yeah, the crash is when everything's on sale, and that's when it's an opportunity to change your financial situation. Um, I guess going a little deeper here, because I know you have a lot of data points that you and your team look at, and you have much more insight as to really when this potential crash would be. What's your best guess?
Well, the thing I'd watch for, I don't think it's about prediction, it's preparation. For
Hmm.
example, let's take my primary residence. I have fire insurance on that. The reason I have fire insurance on that isn't because I can time the fire. I don't know
Right.
when it's going to start on fire, if it ever will. but I take the attitude of preparation. Well,
Mm,
if half a person's wealth is in their home, great, protect it with insurance. But the other half is in their 401k. What preparation is being done to protect that money? The answer is zero for most people.
mm,
So when people say, Andy, when do you think it's going to happen? I say, well, I don't know. Tomorrow, next week, next year, 10 years. Will it happen? Yep, it will. So I don't really need to know when,
mm.
as long as I know it is. And
Yeah.
if I know it is, I can take a preparatory approach rather than a predictive approach, just
Yep.
like buying insurance, if that makes sense. And just a compliment to you. You and I are a little bit the same in that you'll say things like, "Well, I'm not the expert and I don't know," and all that. I think you're doing okay. I think there's some humility mixed with a little bit of coy there, but the authenticity is what I appreciate and that I respect. Because the truth of the matter is, there's guys out there on their podcast acting like they've made it when they haven't, and there's guys that have made it that act like they haven't. So your authenticity is wonderful. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Andy, man. I appreciate and receive that greatly. And, you know, with that, I mean, there is a bunch of gurus out there. I call it fake gurus. Um, and there's a couple people who I do listen to, and one of which, my rule for advice typically is if I wouldn't trade places with them personally and professionally, then I'll probably just let it kind of pass
Nice
me
rule.
by respectfully,
Nice
but
rule.
there's people who I do listen to. One, I don't know if you're familiar or know Garrett Gunderson, my good buddy.
Oh
Um,
my
do you know
gosh.
Garrett?
I got a text from Garrett 2 days ago, man.
Oh,
I talked to him on the phone last week. He,
oh yeah.
his it's funny because he's gone into comedy now,
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
and so he was doing the circuit, building up his comedy, and during COVID, I took a comedy class because I was bored.
Nice.
And so I had to come up with this 5 minute bit, to graduate from the comedy class. And he and I were talking. He goes, "Hey, I'm coming to Salt Lake. Will you open for me?" I said, "Yeah, man, I'll give it a shot." And then my wife got sick the month before the gig. I said, "Garrett, I can't do it." But
Hmm.
yeah, Garrett is solid, man. Just a
Yeah.
solid guy. So yeah, I know Garrett.
Oh, awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's my brother from another mother. He came out on our last year's Montana Mastermind epic camping adventure in the wilderness for 5 days, and yeah, we had
Small
just
world, man.
heck of a good time. But you mentioned insurance, and the reason I mentioned him is because he's a big proponent, and I use that word intentionally, of life insurance. And
Yeah.
I'm curious your take here because I know cash value life insurance gets a bad rap, but also I think it can be useful in the financial picture. And I just would like to hear your take on it.
I haven't invested in it myself, so I can't.
Mm,
It's not an education I speak to, so I'd be out of turn doing it. What I would say is I've got a lot of friends that are, in the infinite banking industry that use that infinite banking concept, and
mm,
it kind of lets you have an asset that you can use without actually spending the asset. The idea of borrowing from yourself is an interesting concept. It's not something I've engaged in because it's not my area of expertise, but I would encourage people to learn as much as you can about those ideas. You can be your own bank. And I have very close friends, even other than Garrett, that I have friends that do it and have found success in that niche for them. So I wish I knew more about that. It is a paper asset, so I should probably know more, but people should investigate it for sure.
yeah, fair. I mean, I have a couple policies, largely node to Garrett, but I appreciate your stance, and not only speaking on things that you truly know. Well, speaking of which, the stock market I know is one of them, and
Yeah,
whether you're a proponent or not, I'd like to get some insight from you
let's
in
talk
terms
about
of,
stocks.
let's talk about it. Right now, the market people say just invest in mutual funds, and over the life of the investment, you'll get your ROI. Well, but I know you have a different kind of
I
mentality.
do.
Just give us at large, if you could tie a bow on your principles of
Yeah.
stock market events investing.
Yeah, so I would approach the stock market the same way a real estate investor would approach real estate. You want to have a
Mm,
little bit of leverage involved. When I look at stock ownership, I really would rather call it business ownership.
mm,
When people think about stocks, like you mentioned, I bought Tesla low and now it's high. That's less appealing to me because when are you going to sell it? And how do you know,
yeah,
right?
right,
And so
right.
what's more important, and what Buffett says this time and again, and that's why my academy is called the Cash Flow Academy. You know the strength of an asset. If I have a jack in the box, right, and I turn the crank and money comes out, what do I care what the cost of the jack in the box was? It's producing cash. Like said nobody. You've heard the fable of the goose that laid the golden eggs.
Yeah.
Said nobody. I'm thinking to buy that goose because I think I'll be able to sell it next week because the price will go up.
Yeah.
True, you're buying this for golden eggs, right? So if a paper asset is representative of a true business, you want to know what that business sells and feel good about it. You
Yeah.
want to be happy about that hustle.
Yeah.
You want to own companies you're proud to own.
Right.
And what would be wrong with, someone drives up in a Rolls Royce and the chauffeur lets him out and he's like, what does he do? What does he do? Oh, he owns Kraft Heinz. Oh, okay, that makes sense. But they're not worried about the price of Kraft Heinz because if you sell your golden goose, you don't have anything. So what my specialty is how to extract more workable, spendable, most importantly, reinvestable cash flow
Mm,
without having to sell the asset. In
mm,
other words, Tesla doesn't pay a dividend, right?
right.
So you've either got to wait for them to pay that dividend, or you've got to say, gee, I think I'm good enough to buy low and sell high and figure that out. That's not my game. My game is to cash flow it through the options market. Dividends put a little cherry on top if you have one that gives it. But I want spendable and more importantly, reinvestable cash that comes into my hands every single month so I can either go buy something for my wife or buy another asset and compound. It's gotta pass that test, right?
Right.
And so cash flow is king rather than capital gain. So people ask, you think the market's going up or down? Well, I don't care. If you were to look at my real estate on Zillow, right, and you got single family homes or my syndications, right, in Texas, you could see the value of those assets going up and down all the time. It's not my concern. I don't care what the price of the goose is. I don't even look at the price tag on the golden goose. I say, hey, you lay any eggs? Because if you didn't, I'm going to sell you right now. But as long as you're laying eggs, then I
Yeah.
can go buy more geese and then I'm compounding. So
Yeah.
when it comes to stocks, in summary, you're owning a business. You're a proud owner of it. And that is life changing. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm,
One last comment on that, if people can stomach my long windedness.
we can.
If you put me in my garage and you said, Andy, here's your little tool bench you've got here, you're not allowed to come out until you build an iPhone. I'm dying in that garage. I mean, I
Same.
wouldn't know. I'd call Amazon, get the parts, it wouldn't even matter. And isn't it a beautiful blessing, this word share? What's a better word than share? And so Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, had all this talent, all this leadership, all these people to make miraculous devices that when I was in high school were beyond imagination. Truly
Mm,
miraculous knowledge, power, and serve. He says, Andy, why don't we share with each other? If you'll share me a little bit of your money with me where I can grow my business, you've got a couple extra bucks, share your money with me and I'll share my brilliance and my ability to serve and my ability to change the world with you. And we'll stand hand in hand as proud shareholders of Apple.
mm.
And we'll change the world and we'll continue to innovate and we'll continue to change the world. And we'll teach these kids and give them an open window of the universe that they never had before. If he's willing to share that with me as a nobody who couldn't build any of that myself, the leverage and enabling power of me to serve more, not have more, but serve more for a
Mm.
couple bucks, I'll give up money to receive that honor of providing these products worldwide.
Yeah.
That is what share ownership is. You can own Tesla. You get to stand next to Elon Musk and say, yeah, this is our company. He's providing the genius and everything. And I gave him a few bucks.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing to share in.
Mm.
It's truly exhilarating that in this country of ours, that I can own the most powerful corporations on earth, American Express cards. You know, we talk about crypto. I don't own a lot of crypto. I own some.
Yeah.
But what I really love is they have to buy my iPhone. They have to buy my electric company, because that's what it is electricity. I mean, basically, they have to buy my Verizon Wireless. They have to buy my Coinbase. They have to buy all that stuff, even to trade their crypto.
Mm.
So I'm good with it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
It's
good
like
with it.
selling
That's
shovels.
what stock ownership is. Own
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
Believe in American business. Believe in America. Believe in American business and own that stuff, right? Own
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
that's my rant and my proponent of stock stuff.
I love it, man. I
If
love
you
it.
can stand it.
Well, even just your take on, crypto. It's like you own the shovels where the gold miners were panning for gold. You're selling shovels. That's the move when it comes to these
Not a bad
unpredictable.
move.
No, it's not. And that's
Yeah.
that's kind of my take, is like, how do I decrease risk, you know, in a volatile potential industry such as crypto? It's look at the assets that crypto needs to be successful, to grow. And like you said, Coinbase being one of them, and the electricity, the grid to trade and to mine. There's a lot there just to unpack in that wisdom. You did mention options though, and I think
Yeah.
for options specifically, I know I get confused by them, and I don't know if anyone else is out there confused by them, but maybe Andy, you could set the record straight for us and give us options 101.
100% happy to do it. An option is another word for choice. And there's value in having a choice, right? And so with an option contract, one person makes a promise, and that gives the other person a choice. And there's only two choices: the choice to buy or the choice to sell. Puts and calls. There you got it. So you're now ready to be an options expert. Options were invented for safety and protection. Just as if someone's afraid of a car crash, I could pay someone premium to take away my risk. So Buffett owns Geico. We pay him a premium. Now he's taking the risk of my car crash, not me. So that premium is a way to transfer risk because they're promising you something. So let's say I own Tesla right now, and I look at it. In fact, let's do a better one. Let's do Mark Cuban. I'll tell you a story about Mark Cuban.
Please.
And this will help people, I think. So Mark Cuban's a bartender. He's got the gift of gab. He's pretty, talkative guy. And he decides to get a bunch of guys together, and they start this company called broadcast.com so they can broadcast their sports all over the world. And the internet's rolling, and Andy's reading Rich Dad Poor Dad with his wife and learning how to sell software. And the internet's going in the 90s, and there's this .com bubble building up. And Yahoo, remember the search engine Yahoo before Google? They were the big kid on the block before Google was. Yahoo looks at this broadcast.com and they say, we don't have as much money in our coffers, but we got tons of shares. We got extra shares to spare here. Why don't we throw $5.7 billion worth of our shares at Cuban and buy his company with shares? Well, that company was worth probably 200 or 300 million at the time, and they offered him 5.7 billion in stock, not money, in stock. So Cuban says, "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take the deal." So he sells his company. He's got a few $100 million in the bank, but he's got billions now in Yahoo stock. He's like, "What if it burns down?" So does he know it's going to burn down? He pretends like he did, but he didn't. And so what did he do? He bought some insurance. He bought the choice to sell at, let's say, $100 a share. So he took his money and he bought an insurance policy. He says, look, if that thing goes to zero, I have the choice to sell this to you at 100. And that's exactly what he did. These were called put options, which gives you the choice to sell high in case the stock goes down low. So you pay a little teensy weensy premium, just like compared to your home value, you pay a teensy weensy premium insurance company. And then if the house burns down, they give you a check. Well, if the stock burns down, they have to buy it. Like, let's say Yahoo goes to $5 like it did. They got to give him $100 a share. They've made a promise because they collected a premium. He has the choice. Another word for choice, it starts with an O, is options. So options were actually created to hedge and to bring some surety to an unsure market. If I have the right and the choice to buy wherever I want or to sell wherever I want, that takes risk out of an asset that I don't know where it's going. I mean, you and I could sit down and in one day, I could show you how to get cash flow from that Tesla monthly. And I could show you how to protect that investment with very little money. And I actually show you what Cuban did, which is to sell some options on the call side to raise the money to buy some options on the put side, and you could actually self-finance your own insurance on Tesla. I could teach you that within 24 hours. And that would be a blessing for anyone, because then you'd have an option to do it or not. And at least you'd know how to do it. So
Yeah. Wow.
that's what we do, man. We make
Yeah.
stuff simple.
I love that example with Cuban too. Thank you for going there. And I'm
Yeah,
sure everyone's like, all right, Andy, now I really need to know how the heck to do this in one
I
day.
hope so.
Where can I go to learn more? I know you have a free gift for the happy hustlers. So maybe you can mention that and also talk about the Cashflow Academy too.
I'd be so grateful and honored to talk about our academy. So I started training people on my own in 2007. We changed the name, I think, in 2013. We've been fortunate to have some longevity. We have students now. I think we're at 172 countries, I want to say.
Let's
And
go.
some of those countries probably have one student. I don't know. I
Hey, it
don't know, but
counts. It counts.
that's the number my team gives me. But I've taught over 1 million people, and we have hundreds of thousands of those people in the Cashflow Academy, at least listen to what we say in some degree. And it's a blessing. I used to travel a lot with Robert all around the world, and nowadays I just love teaching here in my studio and sharing what I've learned so far as a uh, as a student investing. I have a great team. We have guys like Corey Halliday, Series 4 option principal. He's managed risk on Wall Street trading floors of hundreds of option traders at the time. So we have world class risk management education. We focus on spendable cash as opposed to just hoping your stock goes up and down, as I mentioned.
Hmm.
And the mission of the Cashflow Academy is the same as the Rich Dad mission, to elevate your listeners' financial well-being through financial education, whether it be through a podcast like this, if they want to learn more. One of the things we believe is try before you buy. So we're a for-profit business. We're an academy. We don't apologize for that. We have value that is better than college, in our opinion. And I've seen kids spending 200,000 to 300,000 student loans now. They don't need to do that. You can, for pennies on that dollar, you can learn about how to make money. And so that's the Cashflow Academy. That's what we do, and we love it every single day. And we're good at it. We've been doing it a long time. I've got some opportunity for people to learn for anywhere from a couple hours to a full day with this. They can try us out and see if they like our approach and see if that type of hustle would make them happy. If it doesn't, I hope they find somewhere. But we have a long URL. So, maybe we put this in the show notes or make it clickable because it's hard. I know myself, with these fumble fingers, I don't know that I could type it. But our academy is the Cashflow Academy, all three words, thecashflowacademy.com. Put that little / on there, happy hustle, and we'll have stuff there for you. And we'll have some training, and you can spend some time with us if you want to delve into this stuff deeper. But most important, though, is I love that concept, happy hustle. Hustle means I'm working, means I'm moving, means I'm not sitting on my derriere. I'm going out and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But gosh darn it, man, you got to have happiness in the journey. So I love that. I love that idea that's marriage together, that marriage of happy hustle. So get off your butt, hustle, and get happy when you do it.
That's right, man. You're preaching to the choir. And yeah, we'll definitely link all that up in the show notes. Highly recommend everyone check out thecashflowacademy.com and then put a /Happy Hustle on there. It's got some awesome freebies for you guys. Rat Race Escape Plan being one of them, which is unlocking
That's
the
a big
secret
one.
to financial freedom. It's an exclusive ebook, and it's a live training as well. You'll learn a ton on how to just get out of the employee in the self-employed quadrant and get on the other side of the spectrum, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the things to keep your marriage solid.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have all of my students do, everyone commits to it, is you have a financial meeting once a week with your loved one. If you don't have a loved one yet, go find one, or you can be happy with yourself, either way. But 52 times a year, my wife and I sit down. We have two plans. We have our current financial statement, where we are now, and I actually teach people how to build their fantasy dream financial statement here. And every week we meet and we say, how are we going to bridge that gap between where we want to be in 5 or 10 years and now? And that meeting of knowing where you are now, where you'd like to go, creates a blueprint or a plan. Now, let me explain what the best financial plans look like. You have financial planners. The best financial plan is an escape plan. It is a plan that helps you escape where you are now and delve into where you could be. And so every great financial plan escapes the present to a better future. And so that's why we call it the Rat Race Escape Plan. It is a financial blueprint that people can work on weekly to increase their compounding sufficiently to live the life of their dreams. And I got to warn you, you better be pretty big, because once you start making a lot of money, your challenge is to stay bigger than that money.
Yeah.
This is why personal development is so important, because we deal in the calculus of compounding. And that compounding begins to make your money grow so fast and so steep and so big that your personal development, to stay ahead of that and to stay happy and to stay bigger than that hustle, you have to grow as a person exponentially as well, or you'll fail to stay bigger than your money. So the Rat Race Escape Plan is not just a financial journey. It's a journey of yourself for discipline and strength and temperament and love and ownership and service. It all comes together just like a happy hustle should.
Yeah. And best part is it's free. So you out there
Check it
listening
out.
and
Not a lot to
watching,
lose when it's free.
yeah, I mean, you have really nothing to lose and everything to gain. So thank you so much for that, Andy. I do want to put you through the rapid fire round, and then
Bang,
we
let's
will wrap
go.
this amazing episode
I
up.
got my
So much
Louisville
wisdom.
Slugger up. I got
Let's,
my Louisville Slugger ready to go. Let's go.
let's do it. All right. So this is just, off the cuff, first thing that comes to mind, your honest answer. Are you ready, Andy?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite book? Go.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Nice. Favorite movie?
Fletch. And Hoosiers, tie.
Oh, good book. Yeah. Favorite food?
Oh, that one's so easy. David's Kitchen, Salt Lake City, Chinese food. If I ever have to go to the electric chair, that's the last place I'm going. No question.
Nice. What's your spirit animal?
Oh, gee. I don't have a spirit animal. Yeah, give me one. I need a spirit animal.
First thing that came to mind, what was it?
I would say a teddy bear.
Like
Great big, a little pudgy, but soft and fluffy, and kind of a wimp when you Winnie the Pooh.
I love it. How tall are you, Andy? Now I got to know.
It's frightening. I'm 6'8", and right now I weigh pounds is how much I weigh. My son just passed me though; he's 6'9".
Dang!
I'm looking up to my boy now. Yeah,
6'8". That's tall.
Yeah.
Okay, keep on keeping on. Best business advice.
Always be bigger than your money.
Happy hustle hack for your health. Something you do uniquely, Andy.
Boy, I wish I was more consistent. I did lift yesterday. I did walk. Eat less, move more.
Love it. What about for your money? Happy hustle hack for your money. Something we haven't covered. Something uniquely Andy.
Happy hustle hack for your money. I got to go rapid fire on this. Compound, reinvest, and be consistent.
Yeah.
Temperament is as important as education. Reinvest, solid temperament, consistent.
Love it. And then a happy hustle hack for your spirituality, something you do to connect to higher power.
I'll tell you what, I think it's a lot with Shakespeare actually, is if you are not true to yourself, and what I mean by that is not a selfish way, it means integrity. To thine own self be true, then
Mm,
thou canst not be false with any man. In
mm,
other words, if I lie here, I can't be true to myself. There's a
mm,
circle of honor. If we draw a chalk line around ourselves and we give our word not to leave it, we've got to die first.
mm.
So you cannot have integrity unless you're true to that spirit inside of yourself. And if you're honest here, really, really honest here, you can't be false out there.
Oh, I love that. Two more left. Three things you're most grateful for. Go.
Marcy, oh, I get emotional. You got me. Marcy, Zach, and David. By far, nothing's close.
I love it, man. I love it.
And you got
And
me on that one.
it's okay. I'm glad. And
That
then
was
if
dirty.
you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on there, Andy, what does that billboard read?
Follow the truth. Find it and follow the truth.
I love it, man.
That's easy. Yeah,
Crush that rapid fire round, Andy. And
oh,
man,
no,
I
you
just want
threw
to take a moment.
the three favorites. That was kind of a knuckleball going. I mean, that was rough.
It
Kind
was
of
beautiful.
had to check swing that and
Yeah,
dry the
no,
ice so I could hit it.
you got it. Well, listen, I want to take a moment just to acknowledge you, Andy, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your financial truths and principles, and really just your ability to dissect complex information and distill it in a simplified way that myself and the happy hustlers can really understand. And you're really changing people's trajectories with this financial truth in your teaching. So I just want to acknowledge you for what you're doing and how you're showing up in the world. I just feel grateful to connect with you and looking forward to future collaborations as well. So thank you.
God, what a great discussion. And I just wish you the best. I see the circles you're running in. And so just very, very grateful. And I just genuinely, we talked before we hit the record button or whatever we do or go live. And you said, what do you want to talk about? And it's just, we want to serve these people that have invested
Mm,
their time to get better. So I just hope something we've said is of some value and gave you food for thought that can make your life better.
yeah, and it sure has. Well, where's the best place for people to just follow you directly? Is there a place where you're more active on social or?
I'm pretty inconsistent with social. Usually, if something big's happen, and I'll if it's valuable, I don't like just to tweet. If I have something valuable, I don't hire people to come up with stuff. So my Twitter's Andy Tanner Stock,
Okay.
and it's about 90% finance, about 10% basketball.
Nice.
And if they Google me, they'll find whatever's out there. I'm not ashamed of anything out there with my name on it. So if they Google me, they can find me. Obviously, the Cashflow Academy. If you already gave the URL, and
Yep.
best way is just hit the Happy Hustle and spend some time with us.
Yeah.
That'd be the way to do it.
Love it, man. All right. Final question, Andy. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Boy, it means balance. I think that the emotional and the fiscal, I think it just means that yin and that yang and having that balance. I know, oh, look at that. So many people, I've seen it happen. They don't stay balanced with the size of their wallet, with the size of their heart and their mind. And so, yeah, it's a spiritual deal. When people embark on an entrepreneurial journey or an investor journey, you're going to expose your weaknesses and it's going to root those out really, really, really fast.
Mm,
And so I didn't realize, I thought I was going to go out and make money. It's really a journey of personal development. So I
mm.
would say that balance of having the happiness of life and then getting the hustle, that's what I got from the happy hustle today.
Love it. Mic drop, y'all. Andy Tanner, thank you for watching and listening, everyone. We are out. Peace and love, everybody.